May the words of my lips and the meditations of all our hearts be now and always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. It is hard. It's hard to embrace the joy and the fun of the spirit of Mardi Gras while the world burns. It's a hard time. But in these times, I can certainly empathize with Peter, who knows, who recognizes this holy moment that is happening on top of the Mount of Transfiguration. Jesus, his friend, his master, gloriously transfigured, shining and just chatting with Moses and Elijah as if that's a thing that happens every day. Peter knows that this holy moment invites of him, requires of him some kind of response, some words to be said. He's a preacher at heart. Surely there's something to say about this. But he chooses the wrong words. Just as God is about to invite him to go down the mountain into the hardness of the world, just as God is about to invite him to head down towards Jerusalem and the ways that God is about to act to free humanity from our bondage to violence and to domination by accepting the violence and the domination of death on the cross in order to transform that death into new life. Just as God is inviting them to participate in all of this, Peter says, let's build 3 booths and stay up here a moment longer in safety and bask in the glory of God. And no sooner are the words out of his mouth than the cloud forms around him and he is surrounded by the presence of God and he is terrified. Peter. I love him because I too have been known on occasion to speak first and think later. And I too have been known on occasion to speak about things I did not understand because it seemed like the moment needed words. And I was joking with some friends this week about if we could transport ourselves back to that moment at the top of the Mount of Transfiguration, if we could whisper in Peter's ear and give him words to say that sounded wiser, what would we have him say? What is there to say? In the moments when some kind of response is required, I mean, there's, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Those are great words, but he actually just said that earlier in this chapter. I would propose that one possible option for Peter in that moment on the Mount of Transfiguration, and one possible option for us in all of those moments where some response is required, but we don't know what to say. That sometimes one possible response is, oh my God, will you look at that? Said with awe and with wonder, with some room in it for confusion and for not knowing. I don't know what I'm looking at, but would you look at that? Makes it an excellent prayer for just about any time, really. when I'm on an icy trail and I've been staring at my feet trying to stay on them. And eventually I look up and notice that I'm actually in Preservation Park and I haven't been on this trail since it started to snow and I haven't seen it ever look quite like this. And it's beautiful. Oh my God. Will you look at that? When the world is on fire, and there is nothing that we can do except the holy work of bearing witness. And we choose not to turn away. Oh, my God. Will you look at that? When the world is on fire and there is something we can do, some fund we can support or some real information that we can share or some small gesture towards peace or justice or hope that is possible, we can invite others to see those things that we can do. Oh my God, will you look at that? When the people I love are hurting, and it feels like God is just not doing enough about it. It is invocation and it is intercession. Oh my God, will you look at that? And despite it all, when the darkness is pierced by light, gross darkness, we sang. When the gross darkness is pierced by light, or by truth, or by beauty, by a baby's laugh, or a welcoming smile, or a simple joy, or a real human connection. It is wonder and it is gratitude and it is the longing to share what we have seen with someone else so that they might see it too. Oh my God, will you look at that? So today, as we celebrate the last hurrah before the season of Lent, as we prepare for 7 weeks of being particularly attentive to prayer and to scripture and to generosity and to the presence of God in the world. Perhaps this is a prayer we can hold on to. A prayer with room in it for awe and wonder and confusion and not understanding. A prayer for the holy work of bearing witness. A prayer of invocation and of intercession and of gratitude and of invitation. Listen to him, the voice of God says from the cloud. Listen to him. But we have 5 senses. One isn't enough. I mean, just imagine next week, before next week, Wednesday even, we will be able to do more than just listen and see each other in tiny little squares. Some of us will be in 3 dimensions and 5 senses, listening and smelling and seeing and tasting and feeling bread and wine and ash and hand sanitizer. I hope we remember what to do with it all. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Today, on this Sunday last before the beginning of Lent, we make this turn. And I will only call it a turn. I refuse to call it a pivot. If you pivot enough times, you're just spinning in circles. Today, we're making this turn away from Christmas and Epiphany and towards Easter and Lent. away from remote only and towards blending two ways of being together. At vestry this afternoon, turning away from the work of last year and towards the work of this coming year. And there is so much that is not yet known and not yet understood. We don't know what any of it will bring, really. So let's have room for awe and wonder and confusion and not understanding, for the holy work of bearing witness, for invocation, for compassion and intercession, for gratitude and for invitation. What is there to say? In any moment where God might indeed be present with us. I mean, we could hold our tongue, we could just be still when the Spirit of the Lord is in this place. But when a response is needed and we don't know what to say, maybe try that one. Oh my God, will you look at that? Thanks be to God.